It was a typical Friday morning. A mother dropped her 2 children at school, took her dog for a walk along the river, and joined a work call. But shortly after, the dog was found pacing alone. The phone was still on the bench, connected to the meeting. Nicola Bulley was gone. On January 27, 2023, 45-year-old Nicola Bulley vanished in the Lancashire village of St. Michael's-on-Wyre. Within hours, Lancashire Constabulary launched a massive search operation. They deployed helicopters, drones, and sniffer dogs to scour the landscape and the winding banks of the River Wyre. Police diver teams and specialized sonar boats scanned the riverbed. From the start, the official hypothesis was that Nicola had accidentally fallen into the water. The physical search was exemplary, exhausting every lead on the ground. However, the national scale of the operation soon drew a second kind of search party, one that didn't need to be in Lancashire to participate. Despite the massive public attention and the deployment of national resources, Lancashire police failed to declare the case a critical incident. That designation is a formal standard that ensures a specific level of leadership and media management, one this investigation would soon desperately need. At the same time, communication with the press began to break down. Senior officers refused to hold non-reportable background briefings, the sessions where police typically provide journalists with context to ensure responsible, accurate reporting. This chart illustrates the communication breakdown. While official updates stayed flat, a massive information vacuum opened up. The public was watching the search teams every day, but they weren't hearing why the police were so certain about their hypothesis. When authorities lose control of the narrative and leave a vacuum, the public often steps in to fill that silence with their own stories. Driven by algorithms that reward engagement and controversy, amateur sleuths seized on the case. They approached the tragedy through the lens of true crime entertainment, treating Nicola's disappearance as a puzzle for online clout. This digital obsession quickly became a physical problem. TikTokers and armchair detectives traveled to the village, filming the search sites and harassing local residents. It eventually reached the point where police were forced to issue a dispersal order just to keep the crowds away. The mob's focus eventually shifted to Nicola's partner, Paul Ansell. Total strangers bombarded him with direct messages, accusing him of foul play and domestic abuse without a shred of evidence. Many of these individuals claimed they were helping the investigation, but the behavior points to a different driver, a narcissistic need to solve a mystery for an audience, often with a total lack of empathy for the family involved. The search for Nicola had been transformed into a commodified, interactive spectacle. For the public, it was an online drama. For the family, it was a period of active harassment during their deepest moment of grief. In an attempt to shut down the conspiracy theories and protect Paul Ansell from further attacks, the police tried to regain control of the narrative. But the result was a catastrophic public relations error. In a public press release, the force disclosed Nicola's sensitive medical history. They announced she had been struggling with alcohol issues related to her experiences with the menopause. An independent review later scrutinized this move. While the disclosure was technically lawful, the report found that releasing this private information was completely unnecessary and avoidable. The backlash was severe. Members of Parliament and campaigners accused the police of deep-seated misogyny, arguing that they had weaponized a woman's health struggles in a desperate attempt to cover their own mistakes. Trying to appease a digital mob with private data does not end the spectacle. It only adds fuel to the fire and further victimizes the family. On February 19th, 23 days after she vanished, Nicola's body was found in the river. It was located just 1 mile from where she had first been reported missing. This timeline shows the forensic reality presented at the inquest. Nicola's last interaction with her phone was at 9:18 a.m. Just 4 minutes later, at 9:22, her Fitbit recorded a significant, fatal spike in her heart rate. The coroner's conclusion was definitive. Nicola suffered cold water shock and drowned almost immediately. There was no evidence of assault and no third-party involvement. The mundane, tragic truth of an accident completely shattered the sensationalized villain narrative the internet was so desperate to invent. The intrusion continued even after the discovery. The family condemned major news networks for contacting them for comments immediately after the body was found, despite their explicit requests for privacy. The College of Policing Review established clear institutional lessons. It recommended that senior officers must receive enhanced training in media and social media handling, recognizing that modern investigations now require narrative management as much as physical searches. While the online sleuths moved on to the next case, the local community and Nicola's family were left to deal with the lasting emotional toll of the tragedy and the circus that surrounded it. When a human tragedy is transformed into a global, interactive spectacle, how can we protect victims' families from the very public that claims to be looking for